Amazing but true. The Amazon folks are straining almost to the point of prolapse to flush the potential of their projects down the toilet of genius on cooldown. Take the first season of Invincible. It hit the jackpot and captured the sympathy of a solid portion of comic fans in an era when superheroes as a cultural layer provoked nausea, indigestion, gas, and migraines in people at the mere mention. They had a team that drew quality content for pennies, at least from the standpoint of the action sequences, functionality. There was hype. It seemed like they should just take it and forge ahead, allocate resources, improve and develop this promising series. But something eternally prevents these corporate types from conducting their business properly. It got to the point where ultimately the business moguls straight up confused fans, foreheads with anvils and their shameful asses with hammers, and were like, bam 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 bam, 2 last seasons in a row, and I'm not willing to tolerate this, forgive me. In the head of the average effective manager cutting budgets in the name of optimization, such fermented compost has settled that he habitually bets everything on the strategy that people will gladly devour a crude, cheap, unpolished piece instead of a normal product. Hype is everything, quality is secondary. So it's no wonder that all the polymers were hastily dumped in a pile and set on fire, accompanied by smiles expecting praise for the saved funds from higher-ups. And the viewer, as usual, can only hold their nose through their clothes, choking from the stench. The flying ass of the immortal won't let me lie. The whole internet rightfully laughs at this. Just look at this crap, or here's this again. To be fair, even in the first season there were occasional low-budget disasters, but not in key scenes and not in such quantities. Far from art, these functionaries nerfed almost everything, for which I personally gave Invincible a huge credit of trust at the time. I have this fetish, giving sympathy to promising low-budget products. But now it's time to gather stones of endless disappointment. When they shamelessly dragged out the narrative with meaningless shitty sobbing, and fillers with the experiences of not even secondary but tertiary characters, I stayed silent. I also kept quiet about the direction that degraded to third-rate trash level, but when they came for Conquest, that's where my patience ran out. So today I will, yes, as always, grumble and lament about the wasted potential of a previously promising series. The first reason for my dissatisfied grumbling is Conquest, or rather, what the authors did with him. Imagine if Anton Chigurh, who killed no one in the middle of no country for old men, after casually killing a random extra for breakfast, starts telling viewers about how no one understands him, how lonely he is, that he's capable of more, blah blah blah. Imagine that. Question for the final round. Does this bullshit suit a completely unhinged character who embodies an inevitable superior force devoid of common human concepts of morality? No. Then why did they draw Conquest leaving a heart mark from his own blood in space? For what? To cosplay Korean pop idols. The scene in isolation from Conquest, from context zero interest, but such a move would suit Anissa more, who harbors the tenderest feelings for the main hero. Why him and not me, rather than a thoroughly damaged ancient space berserker who doesn't know the words of love? Sometimes I'm so lonely I want to cry, but I don't cry. Where are all these walls in the source material? I didn't see them there. Or did the screenwriters, particularly Robert Kirkman, author of the original comic, want to show this way that beneath the layers of an indestructible bastion of muscles and bones lives a little misunderstood by Viltrumite society crybaby who would gladly do some handicrafts if times were different, more peaceful? No, I understand that Kirkman obviously knows better, but allow me to doubt and throw out the thesis that the concept of expiration date applies to every author and their ideas. And today's Kirkman has clearly gone somewhere wrong. In the comic, Conquest both looked like a monster and behaved befitting a psycho seeking icy freshness. A gigachad without a hint of sentimentality or reflection, with a Cheshire cat grin, caught buzzes from battle and simply flexed, mocking yesterday's schoolboy. Not a single phrase about being misunderstood or lack of love. The old man was crazy but never sentimental. Kirkman, what are you doing trying to lure in Twitter users? I consider it extremely inappropriate. This spoonful of tar that swaps a character from a mad brawler sadist to a depressed guy feeling not quite himself with split personality and a load of complexes with Twitter users, favorite psychological traumas as assets. Someone will say matter of taste, and I'll say it's clearly not a matter of my taste. The second reason is animation. God, it literally covers the viewer head to toe with the stench of cheapness, like a random Chinese plastic trinket from AliExpress. From the action scenes, compared to the first season, all hint of dynamics, confrontation weight, and impact weight has disappeared, with the exception of literally a few decent moments. In one of the most important battles of the entire title, the main hero with the dude, who's the second strongest character in the verse after Grand Regent Thrag, the poor animators keep shamefully covering the opponents with clouds of dust in attempts to delay the moments of actual action. Instead, there's lots of static shots and inexcusable sluggishness for super beings, designed exclusively for acceptable runtime within one episode. Essentially, half the battle is sluggish flights of JPEGs through buildings, where distant shots and looping GIFs save money as a priority. They didn't forget references to the great. Remember how Omni-Man in the first season clearly demonstrated what an adult Viltrumite is, what danger he represents to an entire planet even as a single specimen, what threat this being transmitted to the viewer's brain. Remember what real ground and pound is, what proper storyboarding with fight choreography is, when a significant amount of action happens in frame per second. Forget it, because Mark's fight with Conquest is just, well, not even half as good as what happened in the first season finale, and I personally have no questions for the artists themselves. After all, the animation team for the second and third seasons consisted of something like 250 people, give or take half a person. That's not even really a joke. The artists are blameless, yes, but the bosses, Amazon and Robert Kirkman, definitely have things to answer for. The second season, as we all remember, came out in parts. According to rumors, this was largely connected to the fact that old Robert felt like an overly important chicken, organizing a change of animation studio midstream. And he set inadequate deadlines, a season per year, with self-justifying babble afterward, when people started mocking Invincible on the internet. Like, well, how was I supposed to know I bit off too much? Also, don't forget, COVID kept interfering with our normal work. But that's a standard excuse for the poor from authors who forget to take off their pants. But still, just as no one stopped the dark genius from a series of rash decisions, no one helped the dark genius with additional financing for the continuation. That's precisely why the continuation consists half of shitty stretched-out reflection of tertiary characters with disgusting animation, with all these endless, I'm so sad moments, just to get more static shots in the name of economy. Well, complain and shoot the breeze for one, maximum 1.5 episodes per season. They already run almost an hour each, and then quickly close the Angstrom-Levy arc with multiverses. Honestly, if the showrunners had any sense, Conquest should have appeared right at the end of the second season, at the very end, not in the third. You know, so it would be that classic, and at the most interesting moment, wait a year or two, profit. And Mark would have had time to grow some balls in one season, not two, and the dynamics wouldn't sag. And the third season could have been devoted with a clear conscience to the large-scale arc of war with the Viltrumites. But who am I to question Kirkman's decision? The icon, right? I'm also upset about the pathetic battle with 5 Viltrumites at once from the second season, where the all-powerful flying bricks, there's no other word for it, suck, not even trying to impress the viewer with their abilities. It would seem what room for creativity exists within the aesthetics of brawling between super beings capable of destroying a planet solo. But Nolan, remember, in the first season Solo destroyed the Flaxen planet to driving music. Compared to this, the group scene from the continuation resembles a geriatric orgy. The series' visuals, unfortunately, from the start of the second season stopped withstanding any criticism. And again, I'm not criticizing the artists themselves. In places they really try. As an apology, poor Kirkman even had a message left to fans, breaking the fourth wall analogous to the scene about lack of paint from the first season. Like, don't scold us too much, we have to be clever and crafty. The third reason is betrayed hopes. Funny, but this story truly resonated with chubby me at the time, because until recently Invincible offered an alternative approach to superhero adventures with much-needed deconstruction of genre meta, with franchise fills and immortal brand characters worshipped by Marvel and DC fans. But due to stretching almost an entire 50-minute episode on filler arcs from the comic that were a few pages and could have been skipped, I'll tell you a secret, the main flavor leitmotif of the work stops being felt. Like you ordered a steak at a restaurant and they bring you a fingernail-sized piece of meat, while all the remaining space on the huge plate is filled with string beans, broccoli, parsley, sauce and gaze. Yes, this is generally LOL. They made the tertiary robber friends into lovebirds, showed the everyday life of an evolutionarily dead-end but happy couple. Yes, they didn't dedicate that much time to it, but allow me to rhetorically ask, why at all when you already have one inclusive social unit? These made-up things just piss me off and piss off people too, I'll tell you honestly. It's from a set of such talentless waste of runtime that a solid share of plot content is formed. Funny, but almost the same thing happened with One Punch Man, which I also praised, where the divine first season is at least 2 heads above the second from JC staff. And the story of Baldy's adventures has long lost its charm, thanks to an amazing metamorphosis into a banal teenage shonen in the manga pages, with only occasionally surfacing signature gags. Spoiler alert, attention is paid less and less to Saitama with each new chapter. But in the foreground are some no-names throwing techniques with funny names until they're blue in the face and building plot. Clever how you came up with that, one, author of the original story. I didn't even understand at first, but that's a topic for separate discussion. Let's return to the sheep. Let's talk about Amazon's swine approach to project advertising. The nicely animated teasers for the second and third seasons were drawn by Bobapil's studio, responsible for the birth of Forgive Me Lord Pipudo, a horrible clonic cartoon for furries, and the no less monstrous Crisis Young with Baby. I won't voice this, but the point is that these crazy French really know how to draw Take At Least Their Blood Dragon remix in the Ubisoft game Multiverse. The plot is shit, but we're not talking about plot. And I'd be lying if I said I wasn't happy about the teaser from these guys. It was almost 3 years ago. Taking the pill of hopium, your little Ronin started imagining that the second season would be an upgrade with lots of improvements, that a year and a half of waiting and the issued credit of trust would definitely be worth it. The season comes out, and I observe something lifeless and dull in terms of story presentation. I cry and get hooked on hopium again. Okay, I thought, I'll give it one more chance. I'll wait for the next tram. Maybe the guys suddenly had financial problems or some legal delays arose. And yes, a few months before the third season's release, the Amazon folks drop a promo authored by the same Bobapils with the same animation quality as the first teaser. However, in the trailers, as usual, surprise, surprise, the same crappy picture with JPEGs and zero detail awaited me. Amazon folks, forgive me, are you seriously trying the same trick a second time? What prevented you from allocating money to the most popular project from which you yourselves are raking in cabbage? Why shoot yourself in the dick? Why invite Bobapils to draw teasers when the visual quality of the product itself is times lower? Kirkman in tandem with Amazon bosses can have a full Panama hat of dildos stuffed in them just for dirty marketing. But in our reality, everything's the same as always. A potentially excellent 18+ animated series based on comics takes the form of an absurd turd. With this approach, guys, you won't be able to develop the universe for long. Personally, I'm not waiting for new seasons anymore. It's easier to read the comic. Look, Bobapils is now drawing creature commandos for DC and Warner. Nonsense, of course, but good-looking nonsense. Why didn't they contract them? Or why did you skimp on money for your already hired drawing gnomes? I just, can't understand. Imagine this surprise. Amazon allocates huge money for Rings of Power, until recently spent millions on the grand tour with Clarkson, May, and Hammond, one of the few decent things in Amazon's portfolio. By the way, they gave 200 million green ones for Tomorrow War, a pointless non-action film with Chris Pratt in the era of rampant COVID messing up everyone's cards. My point is that Amazon has money coming out their ass. But here's the paradox, a product that literally explodes space, flying apart into memes and clips, suddenly shoots up for them. And what do? Right, they try to strangle it in the cradle. But Invincible is far from berserk in terms of story quality, which even shitty adaptations couldn't kill. I'm afraid that in Invincible's case, the audience's endurance reserves won't last long, although no, I even hope for that. And then people come to the comments saying like, studio decision makers aren't fools sitting there without snotty noses. First make or draw something yourself to earn the right to complain about anything. But answer yourself at least once in your life honestly. Did you really enjoy what Amazon treated you to in the second and third seasons? Endless whining from a juvenile idiot, robot gay, house pet, and coal guy. Is this the limit of your hopes and expectations? Or are you supporters of the endurance approach where your expectations are your problems? In the list of the little that I found truly worthy of attention in the continuation was a hint at expanding the Damien Darkblood arc, who in the comics was just stupidly drained at the very beginning for lols, as in the series. Anyway, it's a shame interesting character. A kind of mirror John Constantine, demon detective helping mortals expose villains, almost like Dora the Explorer, and all to postpone his return to hell, where by the way Dora belongs. The arc with Cecil's backstory also pleased, because it's definitely appropriate. The story of a pragmatist ready at any cost, and that's not a metaphor, to protect humanity from external threats without regard to moral aspects, pragmatic to the bone marrow, which by the way Mark lacked until a certain point. Again, if the authors hadn't dragged the narrative by the balls, viewers wouldn't have formed a stable opinion that the series' main hero is a hysterical, narrow-minded crybaby. All this is to say that stretched out plus torn narrative kills any desire to continue betting on Amazon's adaptation. Mark's character arc stops being clearly displayed in viewer perception due to endless squandering of attention on all sorts of inappropriate wildness. Secondary characters get too much time, while the story's strong points get too little. You know, really, better read the comics so the impression of Invincible's very concept doesn't get blurred. I told you everything, of course, sincerely. Due to the above-mentioned screw-ups, there's a high probability you'll drop the series sooner or later. And what's the moral? There won't be one. Because I know many will be surprised and even indignant at my position, according to which the better is the enemy of the good. Again, the old man whined. Do you even like anything? Yes, I like Invincible's first season for non-standard plot moves, good drama, appropriate humor, and careful step. And I also like when promising things realize their potential. I'd be lying saying the comic's potential in the current adaptation is realized worthily. In fact, the reason for everything that happened with the series was not capitalism, but Kirkman's excessive self-confidence, his own stupidity, and the short-sightedness of Amazon's money throwers. But the sad truth is that people mostly watch such projects by inertia. In such conditions, presentation quality takes a back seat. Invincible's fate is slow fadding, squandering of approval points accumulated after a stunning start without adding new ones. And I'm personally upset about the botched adaptation of a story that hooked me quite strongly at the time. And there was something to hook with. Give your opinion in the comments. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell icon.